Welcome back to yet another video on discrete mathematical structures. We'll take our discussion forward today. Till now, what we have covered is we saw some basics on sets, we saw some basic definitions, right? I still remember we were talking about equivalent sets and equal sets. We saw the representation of sets, we talked about set theory, we saw how to represent a set using roster or tabular form. We also saw how to represent a set using set builder or ruled method. We talked about disjoint set. We also talked about size of the set with the help of cardinal number, and then we talked about your empty set, universal set. We talked about subsets. We saw some theorems. We tried to identify the number of subsets of a set. Then we looked into the superset. We looked into the proper superset. We talked about some basic operations on sets that includes your union, your intersection, your complement, your symmetric difference, which is also called as a Boolean sum as well. So these things we have already covered, post which we saw to represent these operations with the help of your Venn diagrams, where we saw how to represent the disjoint sets using Venn diagram. We saw once again those unions, complements, intersections, and symmetric difference with representation with the help of your Venn diagrams. Then we saw the algebra of sets, where we looked into your laws such as your idempotent laws, associative, commutative, distributive, identity, then involution, then complement, and then your De Morgan's law. Then we talked about the distinct object set, which is your ordered set. We also talked about your Cartesian products. We talked about some of the properties of Cartesian products. Then we looked into your power sets, and we talked about your multi-sets. Then infinite set, where we looked into your countable infinite set or the uncountable infinite set. We also talked about equivalent sets. And in today's discussion, we are going to see some points which we can ponder. We'll talk about some basic tits and bits of discrete mathematics topics which we have covered up till now. We will also try to cover your inclusion or exclusion, and then we'll see if we can cover Russell's paradox in today's class. And we'll also look into the partitioning of sets as well. So let's start today's discussion. So what we have is we have something called as this, which is your null set or the empty set. So this is equivalent to this, right? So this is the empty set, or we can also say that this is a set containing no elements. Now, one thing to note is that this is not equal to this thing. These two things are different, so don't get confused. Right, on this side we have something like this, but this holds true as well, that this is not equal to this, because that means there is another empty set within this. That means once again we are talking about multi-sets in some sense, right? Now let's talk about your proper subset. We had a discussion previously, but let's once again formally see some examples as well. So if I'm writing that A and the symbol B. Now this means that A is a proper subset of B. That means A is a subset of B, and in addition to this, A is not equal to B. That's why we are able to get this particular thing. Right. So we can take some examples. I have like 1, 2, 3. This is a subset of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the same, this 1, 2, 3 is a proper subset of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because there isn't any additional element in this, so that particular thing holds true. I hope I'm able to make some sense with the help of these examples. Now let's have some more discussions, right? So my question is that is this a subset of 1, 2, 3? Does this holds true? The answer is yes. The reason being, for all x where x exists in null set, this implies your x exists in 1, 2, 3 holds for all over empty domain as well. We'll talk about range and domain separately, but at this moment of time, let's keep it to this level. See, there is always a difference between existing and being a subset, right? So these two things are something which are separate. Let's see some more points on it. So the point is that is this true or not? Exists in 1, 2, 3. Right. Now the answer to is no. This thing does not exist. Let's take some more problems. Is your phi a subset of 5, 1, 2, 3? Now, undoubtedly, this time it is yes. So let's have some more points. Is this exists in now previously we were talking about subset, this time we are talking about the existence. So once again it is 100% correct. Right, so let's take some more. Let's take some more examples. is a set with an element this is a subset of this. And let me add some more so that we can have a discussion on each of this. Is your A an element which is there in a set exists in this, and whether this holds true or not. Additionally, is this true or not? Right, for this, this is something which is 100% correct. Yes. Right, obviously it is a subset. And looking at this is also correct because there exists an element in this particular set as well. Here also it is a subset. Yes, undoubtedly there exists an element. Yes. But in this case, it is no. This does not exist in this. From the previous slide, you might have got an idea about this particular part as well. So now let's take few more examples on, let's take some more example on cardinality. Right, we had a good amount of discussion on cardinality, but we have not yet solved any more examples, right? So let's see whether I have taught this thing properly. If S is equals to 1, 2, 3, then cardinality of it, which is mod S, will be equals to 3. Now let me bring a minor twist to it. If S equals to, let's say 3, 3, 3, in that case the cardinality will be 3 or 1. See, we talk about unique elements, right? So in this case I'll have cardinality as 1 only because the uniqueness is 1. That means there is a repetition where I have 3 values which are same. For this, what we have this cardinality as 0. Here we are talking about empty, right? So in this case I have the cardinality as 0. I hope it makes sense. Now let's take another question this time. So let's prove that if A minus B union B minus A is equals to A union B, then A intersection B is equals to phi. Right, so let's solve this particular example, and this can be solved using contradiction. So suppose to the contrary, I have A intersection B equals to phi and X existing in A intersection B. In this case, then my x cannot be in A minus B undoubtedly, and x cannot be in B minus A, right? Because there exists in because x is from this I am getting that x is something which is a common element, right? X is a common element in both A and B. That's why we are saying x exists in A and B. So if we are going for the A minus B or B minus A, x will be excluded. So in that case, then what I'll have is that x is not in A minus B union B minus A, right? From this and this I am getting this. Now what we can say is, but x is in A union B since A and B are subset of A union B, right? Anyways, because in this A union B it will have all the elements of A and B, and A intersection B will have the common elements. So anyways, this is going to be a subset of A union B. Thus, I hope I am able to clarify this particular point, right? Just you have to throw some light on the previous algorithm. So thus A minus B union B minus A is not equals to A union B. So this is something which is contradiction. Thus A intersection B is equals to null. And that's what we were trying to prove here, right? Our effort was to prove this if this holds true, right? Let me once again explain you. What we are trying to do is we are taking the contradiction. Suppose to the contradiction A intersection B is null and x exists in A and B. Then obviously, since there is an intersection, so x is something which is common in both A and B. So if there is something which is x and that is common in both A and B, so obviously this x will not exist in either A minus B or B minus A. In both the cases, x is not going to be there. And similarly, if x is not there in A minus B and B minus A, so if we do the union of A minus B and B minus A, then once again x is not going to be there. So in this case, we also identify that x is in A union B, since A intersection B is a subset of A union B, and with this we find that A minus B union B minus A is not equal to A union B. So this is a contradiction. Thus A intersection B is not equal to 5. That's what we are trying to prove. Now let's talk about another interesting topic, which is your inclusion and exclusion in your set theory. Inclusion and exclusion principle, right? So here we are talking in terms of set theory, because this concept is used in many places. So what it is, it only answers to that what is the cardinality of A union B. Right. So what we can do is, if we draw the diagram means Venn diagram. If suppose I have this as A, I have this as B, so this portion is A intersection B. So my A union B cardinality will be cardinality of A plus cardinality of B minus A intersection B. See, once again, it's very simple. What we are trying to say is, we are trying to find the number of A union B. That means it would be this area plus this area and the common ones which are there in this. In that case, what we can do is, we can find the cardinality of A, we can find the cardinality of B, and we can exclude the cardinality of this portion. Why we are doing this? Because this cardinality, or let's say the number of elements here, are added in this part, are added in this part, so twice they are added. Now I am subtracting it once with the help of this intersection, which is giving me the cardinality of the common numbers. I hope it makes sense. Now let's take another problem, right? Now the problem is, prove that A union, let's take first, A union B whole complement is equals to A complement intersection B complement. Now I can prove it with the help of the membership table. So what I have is, I have A here, I have B here, I have A bar, I have B bar, and I'll get A bar intersection B bar. Let me make some space so that I can properly display it here only. I have A, I have B, I have A bar, I have B bar, I have A bar intersection B bar, I have A union B, I have A union B whole bar. So what all values I have? I'll have 0, 0, I'll have 0, or maybe let's take 1, 1. So that remains the same, right? 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, and 0, 0. Right. So if I are taking 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, that's also same. So A bar, that means 0 here. I'm getting this from here. 0 here, 1 and 1. For B bar, I'm getting 0 here. I'm getting 1 here. See, I'm using this. I'm getting 0 and I'm getting 1. Now what I'm supposed to do is, for this part, I am going to find the intersection. So 0, 0, it is 0 only, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, once again 0, 1, 1, 1. Now for A union B, that means to get this, to get this particular thing, I'll be going for A union B, which is your 1 1, that means your 1 1 0, once again 1 0 1, once again 1 0 0, which is 0. Right, next is the complement of it. So 1's complement, that means A union B's whole complement, which is 0 0 0 and 1. And we have to prove that whether this part is equivalent to this part or not. And looking at this particular thing, we can identify that okay, this and this are the same thing. So in this case, I can prove this with the help of membership table. A simpler one, you might have already studied this in your electronics course, or maybe in your computer organization course, or maybe in n number of places. This kind of concept you might have seen. So this was about one another example. Now let's talk about a very interesting paradox, which is for your understanding, right? So this thing is called as your Russell's paradox, not Andre Russell, right? It is Russell's paradox. A very interesting concept, right? So the concept says there is a town with a barber who shaves all the people who don't shave themselves. So the question is, who shaves the barber? And another question is, does the barber shave himself? Because based on the statement that there is a town with a barber who shaves all the people who don't shave themselves. Right, in that case, who shaves the barber? And also it raises a question that whether the barber shaves himself. Right, in that case, what we have is, right, let me take this to the next slide. If the barber does not shave himself, then he must abide by the rule and shave himself. And if he does shave himself, according to the rule he will not shave himself. I hope you are getting this part right. So the point here is, once again, this particular Russell's paradox is basically, is used in the foundations of in the foundations of mathematics, and this is also called as Russell's anatomy. So it was actually given by Bertrand Russell in the year 1901, and this basically gave a naive set theory, right? So this in some sense was also the initially start of your naive set theory, which is NST, right? So you'll find several articles on this Russell's paradox as well. So and as I said, this gave the idea about the naive set theory. Anyways, let's talk about another interesting thing, which is partitioning of a set. So in case of partitioning of a set, let's say that set is A, then this is nothing but a collection of n disjoint subsets. And then let's say these subsets are like P1, P2 up to Pn, and it should satisfy the three conditions which are mentioned here. So one is your Pi doesn't contain the empty set, that means Pi is not equivalent to this empty set, or all lies between this for all I from 0 to n. Another condition is the union of all the subsets must be equal to the original entire set. That makes sense because we have already partitioned it. So if I am taking the union, so once again I should get the set back. That is, if A equals to P1 union P2 union up to Pn, right, I should get back the entire set. This was about partitioning of the set. And the last one is that the intersection of any two disjoint sets, sorry, not disjoint, distinct sets. Disjoint will take us to a different meaning. Distinct sets is an empty set. That means if I have, let's say, a set PA and I'm going for intersection with PB, So I should get an empty set, and it should be like, see the way I have partitioned it, that each and every elements are different. So if with this help of subsets I am going for the intersection, so in that case I am getting an empty set. So this was all about your first Russell's paradox and partitioning of a set. See, Russell's paradox has a very has some more depth, and since it's not there in your course, but I thought that since it's a part of, since we are talking about discrete mathematics, so I thought of adding it to this particular discussion. Now, in our next video, we'll talk about some basics on fuzzy sets. We'll talk about fuzzy subsets, and we'll talk about some operations on fuzzy sets. We'll also look into the recursively defined sets, right? And with this, we'll try to finish our set theory part, and we'll move to the relations. So that's all for this video. Let's meet in our next class.